Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Marc Rutzen. Hello, Marc. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Marc is the co-founder and CEO of Enodo. It's an automated underwriting platform for multifamily real estate. He oversees Enodo's data science, engineering, and business teams. And I'm really looking forward to getting into how Enodo works and what it does for people in this industry. Marc, could you give us a little background about just your experience in real estate, how you got started, and then we'll move into obviously why you created Enodo.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated from Columbia's MSRED program at a very opportune time for real estate, 2011. So there was not a whole lot of development going on, and I had a master's in development. I came back to Chicago and actually did get a job with a developer doing affordable housing and federally qualified health center development. Worked in development and brokerage and consulting for 5 years and just really saw how inefficient the industry was and the way everything is done. And along that time, I figured out a little bit about tech, a little bit about front-end development, and launched Enodo to try to solve some of the problems that I saw in doing my day-to-day as a real estate professional.
So what were some of the inefficiencies that you've seen time and time again? Those 5 years you were working in the industry, what were those that you've seen? And then obviously we'll get into how you created a fix for that.
Yeah, so when I was doing market analysis consulting, one of the things I saw was that although we would put the demographics and the economics of the area in the very back of the OM, and this is the same in brokerage and any sort of market analysis you do, no one could really quantify what does it mean if you have this median income in terms of the rent you could generate? What does it mean if this is the population growth? What does that supply and demand equilibrium mean for rents going forward? And for that matter, things specific to the property too. Like if I'm going to do this value add, how do I actually know what I'm going to get for the granite countertops, the hardwood floors, the roof deck, the dog run that everyone seems to be raving about? How do you quantify what you're going to get for each of those different drivers of value? And I had actually done regression analyses and different data visualizations for customers to solve this very problem, like tell them what are the things that are going to drive value the most. And I just figured, after doing it, dozens of times, okay, maybe this is something that would be best if it was in a self-serve platform where people could do this analysis on their own.
Awesome. So obviously that led into how you created Enodo, or a reason why anyway, right?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about, what this software does and, how you created it, and give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so Enodo predicts what your optimal rent should be as a function of your property and market characteristics. So it ties in well to what I was just saying with demographics and the rooftop deck, the hardwood floors. You toggle amenities and you'll see what the rent change will be, what the rent lift from each amenity will be as you're going. So that's one thing. It calculates your optimal rent, your optimal operating expenses based on your year built, your property size, your competing properties that are similar in your market. It tells you what your rent comps are and pulls their historical rents going back 180 days. So you've got your rent survey done pretty much instantly. And then finally, it takes all that and it predicts a market value of your asset today. Kind of like the Zestimate or something for single family, but we did it for multi. And so it's a soup to nuts platform to analyze multifamily real estate, and it works anywhere in the country. And how we have built it, we started in May of 2016. I had literally nothing. It was me and one web scraping developer who was an intern at the time. And I just announced that we were going to do this big thing where we're going to quantify all the drivers of real estate value, and it's going to be amazing, but we had nothing at that point. And then we built slowly. We added data sources, added data scientists to the team, learned more and more, and eventually launched the platform for sale in January of this year. And so it's been almost a year now since we've been selling, and we've got some pretty big names on the platform nationally. So I can't complain. It's been a fun run so far.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about how does Enodo get all this information, all this data? How does that work? How is it accurate? How do you know it's up to date?
Yeah, so the number one question after any demo that we do is, where do you get your data? It's like the real estate people's number one question. So we get our data from, first and foremost, you, the user. We get it from property management software, where you integrate with Yardi, RealPage, or Entrata, and we pull in all that unit level data day over day. We get it from your property websites. We go to about 40,000 property websites nationwide. We sit on top of them basically and get their rent and availability data as it is pushed to the website, which comes from property management software, by the way. So, I mean, you know that if you don't get it directly from the software, you get it straight after it leaves the software. We get it from rent rolls and T12s uploaded by our users. And by the way, there's a free rent roll parsing tool on our site that is a good data funnel for us, but any one of your users can check it out if they want to. And then we get it from 15 different listing sites where we get the balance of the data, like the mom and pop properties that aren't large enough to have their own property website. We get the rest of the data from there. So all in all, this covers about 2 million properties nationwide, and we get about 56 million listings every week.
56 million?
56 million. Yeah, it's officially big data. I think at some point it was smaller, and then we crossed into the boundary into a big data company.
Wow. So how does Enodo like know how to how like an amenity is going to affect, the rent or the property? How does it factor in, if you put in granite versus, a cheaper type of countertop or different types of amenities like that?
Yeah, so what we do is we have an algorithm that forms a similar market in terms of people and properties. So it starts with the census tract you're located in. It then expands outward from that census tract, and it says, this is the supply and demand equilibrium of the tract you're located in. Look at everything adjacent, and if it's similar in terms of the people and the properties in the market, add it to the cluster, and keep doing that. Keep expanding outward until you have enough data to, holding everything else constant except one thing at a time, predict what that one thing will do to drive value. So say a typical cluster will have 100 to 200,000 listings in the cluster. This is over a 30 to 90 day period that we're pulling this data. So we take all those listings and we isolate every different variable and just say, the one thing that's different between this group and this group is this group's got a dog run and this one doesn't. And then all else equal, isolate the impact. It's kind of like a turbocharged regression analysis that you learn in college. We just took it to the 50th degree
Wow.
in terms of complexity. Yeah.
So how about the operator's business plan? If I plan on, if our plan is to hold the property a certain amount of time compared, 5 years or 7 years, whatever, how do I put in different factors of my business plan compared to if someone else, is purchasing the same property, they may have a different plan.
Yeah, so we allow you to test different scenarios pretty easily in the platform. So you can test different amenity packages. You can test different scenarios if you're doing like a ground up development, do different floor plans, different configurations. What we spit out at the end of this is an Excel sheet, of course, because it's always going to go back to Excel, right? We don't even want to get real estate people out of Excel. I think it's a perfect tool. We're not trying to erase your Excel model or replace it or anything. So we let you test the scenarios and do the analysis, see what your pre and post renovation comps are, and then take it to Excel and then complete the model. And we've got growth rates. We've got your waterfall structure in the Excel export. You could plan out your hold period and see what the different returns are. At that point, people can either use our model, which is simple enough and easy to use, or they can go put our inputs into their model and then determine how performance will look. Our mantra is, we're trying to be the input for the model, not the model itself, if that makes sense.
Trying to be the input for the model, not the model itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you keep all the data current?
So every single week we are getting these new listings, and it's actually some of them are running continually, like daily. We just load the data into the platform every week. I wish I had an army making 1 million calls a year, but I don't. We're small, so we got to be very efficient. And what we do is we have a series of algorithms that go through, get all that new listing data, and if no listing is available, this is the important thing. If no listing is available, like it's a fully occupied property, it will go back to the most recent listing that was posted. So you can see the date and the time of that listing. It's like if you were to survey as a human being, you would go to a website, property website, write down all the concessions they're posting, write down all the unit types and the rents that they're getting, put it into Excel. We do the same thing just with tens of millions of properties every week, or units, I should say, every week, and pull that all into the platform.
Wow. I guess, since you launched in January, tell us some ways you've been able to improve it.
Yeah, so we realized that, back when we launched, we thought our main market would be developers and value-add investors. And so it makes sense. That's why we built the whole amenity testing and floor plan testing functionality. But we found out that there's a much bigger market for private equity investors and lenders that want to process deals quickly, but they don't necessarily have the ground game built out in all these other markets across the country. And so we built our rent roll parsing tool and our T12 mapping tool to satisfy those groups. The lenders have such high volume. They're looking at so many deals in so many different markets that a consistent way to get the insight out of the rent rolls they have and map the T12s to their chart of accounts from any loan applicant is a huge time saver, a huge efficiency tool for them. So we really played that up and allowed you to just start with an address and a couple of documents, load them into the system, and then get insight almost immediately.
Wow. What's going to be the common, and you've talked about this a little bit, but really the common features that, I know there's lots of features that it's going to tell us, but what's going to be some common things that are really going to stand out to everybody in the syndication business that Enodo is going to tell us?
The comps, I think, are going to be the biggest thing. So, people argue, so say you're in a conversation with a broker who's representing the seller and you're trying to buy this property. They're going to argue that the comps are the highest in the market. These are all the best properties, they're direct comps. And you're going to say, no, I think these other properties are comps. We invented a way to basically tell you what the statistically most similar comps are, pull their rent going back 180 days, and let you seamlessly compare that to your asset. And so we like to say, we'll be the bad guy. We'll say, no, that's not a comp that's only 36% similar. Yes, that is a comp that's 88% similar. And you can have those conversations a lot easier and do your comp survey a heck of a lot easier. I mean, you could do this whole process. I run this for people that are interested in just seeing our outputs. It takes 5 minutes. You put in your address, you say, this is my property, and then it shows you a list of comps in order of similarity. Select the top 5, export, and then you've got your comp set surveyed and all their rents and all their historical data all in one place.
Nice. So what about when importing data and one person calls something one thing and somebody else calls it something else? And, how does it know that, okay, this is the same thing as this, even though it has 2 different names?
As far as amenities?
Yeah. Anything about a property, or the income and expenses and.
Yeah, so the way it works on the amenity stuff is we've got something we call the Booleanizer, which is a term that our data science team came up with. Basically, what it does is it looks through. We know one term means granite countertops, but you can say granite countertops as granite counters, granite in the kitchens, recently installed granite surfaces. There's so many different ways to say granite countertops. Like 100 different combinations. If any of those appears or any variant of that appears, we know that it means granite countertops. That's just simple scripting there. With the chart of accounts, we actually have the frequency. So this is pretty cool. It's a machine learning algorithm. We know when everyone is uploading their T12s, they map their T12 to their chart of accounts. So you customize your chart of accounts, what line items you want to appear, and then when the T12 is uploaded, you select which line item each different thing corresponds to. But we have hundreds of people doing that all the time. At any given point, there are hundreds of users on the platform categorizing things. So what we do is we say what the probability of each different categorization is for something like gas, right? So the word gas appears in a T12. 50% of the time it'll be expense reimbursement, and 50% it's a utility, something like that. If it's 50-50, we don't categorize that automatically. We just say there's not enough data to tell. But if it's like 90% of the people put this into one operating expense line item or one item in their chart of accounts, then we know that, so we automatically place it there. And that's how we use the sum of the market's knowledge and their way of doing things to underwrite new things and allocate them effectively.
Wow. So what else do, apartment syndicators and people in the business need to know about Enodo? What else, do I need to ask you that maybe I don't know to even ask you that it will tell us, information it will give us that I'm not aware of to even ask about?
I think the biggest thing that, people don't either realize or don't understand that the platform's doing is that, we're telling you, based on everything in the market, here's what the rent you should be able to achieve in the next 30 days. This is saying, if you take these units to market today, whether they're leased or not, this is what you should be able to achieve. And the value of that is, well, you're looking at an asset and you're trying to acquire it, and you see that Enodo rent is like 8% below the in-place rents. You say, oh, Enodo's wrong. Like people's first reaction is, oh, this is wrong. It can't be as right as the rents that are in place. But it's forward looking. So it's looking at what's going on in the market as a whole. And so when you actually roll those units, if you're looking at your lease and your lease expirations, and you find that they're a little bit off peak leasing season, they're maybe getting into November, December, you get a lot of turnovers, and Enodo is saying, hey, these things are going to rent for 10% below the in-place rent. Some people's inclination would be, oh, that's impossible, that has to be wrong. But that's the whole point, right? It is going to rent for below what the in-place rent is. That's why we're doing the whole analysis. So we can actually tell you where that exposure is before you take inordinate risk and help you avoid that. Or, if you see an undervalued asset and Enodo says the rent should be 15% above what they are, then it's a slam dunk. And you load your rent roll and you do your due diligence and you say, man, okay, if I just manage this thing at market, I'm going to make a ton of money. And you can learn that in 5 minutes using the platform versus hours of market surveying and analysis.
Wow. That's incredible. It's great information right at your fingertips. I can see how it can save so much time or help you to make better decisions when underwriting, right? Mm-hmm. So Marc, tell the listeners how they can learn more about Enodo and get in touch with you and learn more just how to purchase the product.
Yeah, so check out the website. We answer a ton of questions. We got a really good blog on the website that explains how the algorithm works, where we get our data from and all that. So it's Enodo Inc., ENODOINC.com. If you go there, check out the blog, check out the tutorials, check out our YouTube. There's some really good videos on how to use the platform. And then you can just sign up on the pricing page or request a demo, and I'm happy to do it personally for you if you want to learn more.
That's awesome. Yeah, Marc and I connected, I don't know, probably a couple months ago now, and he gave me a demo, and I highly recommend you all connecting and reaching out to him and getting a demo and seeing how Enodo can help you in your business. And Marc, thanks for being a great guest. And I encourage the listeners to go to the Facebook group and so you can connect with the guests and ask questions, and we can all learn this business together. And we will talk to each of you listeners tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by Life Bridge Capital. Life Bridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. Life Bridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.